guys, David from PassTheGuitar.live here, bringing you another song tutorial. And in this video, we're gonna be working on Lorde's brand new song, Solar Power. Such a fun song to play, fantastic for players of all levels. For beginners, we're gonna be covering a simplified version. All you need are gonna be 3 basic chords, a simplified strumming pattern, and a capo on the 2nd fret. So make sure you have one with you, and if you don't have a capo, check out a link in the description of this video where you can get the same capo that I have here. And that's just part of what I'm going to be covering in this video. I'm not going to stop there. I'm also going to share with you the power chords and actual strumming pattern with the palm technique used on the original recording. Nice, right? So make sure you stick around for that. And that's all you need to know before we start this lesson. So if you are ready, you know the drill. Let's waste no more time and dive right in. And we're gonna start by covering everything you need to know for the simplified version so you can start playing this song today. And as we always do, the first step is to cover the chords you're gonna need. And we will be using a capo on the 2nd fret, so make sure you have yours there. We'll need A major, G major, and D major. That's it. All we need are these 3 simple basic chords, and if you don't know them, check out this playlist where we cover them and much more. And that's it. If you know these chords, you're ready to go to the next step, which is to take a look at the strumming pattern. And this is the simplified strumming pattern we're going to be using. I know it looks a little complicated because of the 16 notes, but trust me, if you listen to the way that I'm playing, but also listen to the way that I'm counting, it will really help you. Because if you can say the counting, you can definitely play. Well, let's start by just listening to the way that I'm playing. I'm going to use palm muting strings here, just muted strings, so we just focus on the rhythm and on the counting. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and down, down, up, down, 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 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and. Sounds nice, right? And it's starting to probably feel not so complicated. Once you start hearing the sound of the strumming pattern, you can envision it playing the guitar. And if you count and you are actually verbalizing that count, it makes it even easier. So make sure you're doing that. Well, let's plug in a chord. Here we go. Let's use A major. 1, 2, E, and 4, and. And now that we covered the chords and the strumming pattern, it's time for us to take the next step, which is to look at the song form and the chord progressions. And this song is super nice. It doesn't have a lot of parts. We only have verses, pre-choruses, and choruses, and an outro. But it's even better when it comes to chord progressions. We only have 2 chord progressions. It's basically just one. And you're gonna see that the chorus looks and sounds so similar to everything else. The only difference is going to be one measure that is taken out of that chord progression. But everything else is the same chord progression. And it's this one here, a 4-bar phrase where it starts with a full measure of A major, followed by a full measure of G major, and then we have a full measure of D major, and we end this 4-bar phrase with a full measure of A major. So make sure you pay attention to the fact that there is a major on the first measure and on the last measure. So it's gonna feel a little longer on the A major. So don't skip any of them unless you're gonna break the form. All right? And this chord progression here is gonna work for verses, for pre-choruses, and also for the outro. And it's almost the same thing we're gonna be doing on the choruses. So let's practice by plugging in that simplified strumming pattern. Here we go. 1, 2, up, E, and 4, and 1. That's it. That's like 90% of the song already. Fantastic, right? So let's take a look at what we're going to be doing for the choruses. On the chorus now, we have a full measure of G major as the first measure, and we head over to a D measure after that, just like the other chord progression, and then we go to a full measure of A major, and we play after that another full measure of A major. And then we move into G major on the second line, and then D major for the second measure on the second line, and we end this 7-bar phrase on A major. That's it. I told you it's very similar to the first chord progression we covered. Basically, it's like we're skipping the first measure of A major. After that, we just play the same way, and that's why it adds up to 7 measures instead of 8 measures. All right, let's practice the chorus by plugging in the strumming pattern. Here we go. 1, 2, up, E, and 4, and 1, 2, up, E, and 4, and down, down, up, down, 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 1, 2, up, E, and 4, another A. Now that we covered everything we need to know for the simplified version of this song, it's time for us to go over all of those things that I promised you at the beginning of the video. And we're going to start by taking a look at the power chords we're going to use. And for that, I'm going to take out my capo. I'm going to keep it here on the headstock, just for the sake of it. And the first power chord is B5, and we're going to play it here on the 6th string 7th fret with our index, and we have our 3rd finger here on the 5th string 9th fret, and the pinky right underneath that on the 4th string 9th fret. These 3 strings, I highly recommend you try to use this technique where you lightly touch with your index finger. You notice here, index finger is lightly touching the strings, not pressing, so that I mute those strings so I can strum without the concern of getting the other strings. If this is too hard for you and you're going to be arching your fingers, which is okay, make sure when you're strumming that you only hit the 6th, 5th, and 4th string. Avoid the G, B, and E strings, unless it's going to sound like this. So you either just focus your picking on the 6th, 5th, and 4th strings, or you can lightly touch with your index, like you're resting your index a little bit on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd string, and you get then muted. So you can strum up and down with no concerns. The other chord that we're going to be using is A5, and A5 is just like B5, but on the 5th fret. On the 6th string we have the index, 5th string 7th fret we have the 3rd finger, and the pinky on the 4th string 7th fret. And the same thing applies with the muting. For the E, we're going to be here back on the 7th fret, but this time on the 5th string with our index, and then with our 3rd finger on the 4th string 9th fret, pinky right underneath on the 3rd string 9th fret. So it's just the 5th, the 4th, and the 3rd strings. But if you want to mute strings to make sure that you can strum everything, you can do the same thing here with your index by touching the strings, and you can bring your index up a little bit so it touches the 6th string, and and you mute it a little bit, so you can strum up and down with no problems. Now let's take a look at the actual strumming pattern used on the original recording. And I'm gonna bring my capo back here because I'm gonna show you how to play it with both the power chords and actual basic chords. So if you don't know how to play power chords or don't feel comfortable with them, you can still practice and learn the actual strumming pattern using the basic 3 chords: A major, G major, and D major. Right? But for power chords, we have B5, A5, and E5. So it really doesn't make a difference here using my capo because I am not hitting those strings that are going to be open anyways. Well, the strumming pattern is this one here. It looks a lot busier. It is literally based on the same strumming pattern that I actually shared with you before. I simplified from there, trying to take some of the hits out so that you didn't have to play so many hits. But this strumming pattern is super groovy and super nice. Listen to how it sounds with just the rhythm. I'm gonna mute the strings. 1 and the 2 and the E and the 4 and 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and down, down, up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, up, down, up, down, down. Nice, right? Super groovy. Let's plug in a chord. You can use A major. If you're gonna use a open, like basic chord, use A major. And if you're gonna use a power chord, use the B5. Now I'm gonna be going back and forth between the two, but in order for you to match the sound, if you're playing open, if you're playing basic chords, it's A major, and if you're playing power chord, you're playing B5, all right? Here we go. 1 and the 2 and the E and the 4 and 1 and the 2 and the E and the 4 and down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, down, down. If you are enjoying everything you learned in this video so far, you're gonna love adding the palm muting technique to any of these strumming patterns we worked on. I just wanna share a couple tips with you guys. So when you're palm muting, no matter what type of chords you're playing, whether you're playing the power chords or you're playing the open string chords like the basic chords, try to make sure not to strum too many strings. Focus your strumming on the strings between 6 and the 3rd string and hit only like a few of those strings. Only go to the 6th string if you're playing the power chords on the 6th strings or G major. And if you're playing A major, the regular A major and D major, keep your focus on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string. This is gonna make your palm muting strumming a lot smoother, and you're gonna avoid some open sounds because if you play all the way down, there is a chance on the way up, your open top strings are gonna start ringing like. So you don't want that. You want everything to sound muted. So focus on fewer strings. So let's practice that first of all with the basic chords, and then we use the power chords. Here we go. We're gonna use the simple strumming pattern first. 1, 2, E and 4 and 1 and 2 and E and 4 and G and 2 E and E and 4 and D and 2 and E and 4 and 2 E and E and 4 and. Nice. Now let's use the power chords and the actual strumming pattern of the original recording. But if you don't know how to play power chords, use the open string basic chords and practice along with us. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up, And now that we covered everything you need to know for a simplified version, all of the extra with the power chords, the actual strumming pattern, and the palm muting technique, it's time for us to put all of that for practice in the form of a playthrough demo. And you can do that however you want and however you feel the most comfortable. If you want to stick with the simplified version, do that. If you want to use everything you learned in this video, please do that as well, or anything in between will work. I'm gonna try to use everything that I taught you guys in this video throughout this playthrough demo. And I'm going to do a verse following along with a pre-chorus all together, and then after that we're gonna do a chorus. Let's start with a verse. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hate the winter, can stand the cold. I tend to cancel all the plans. 2, 3, and 4. But when the heat comes, something takes a hold. Can I kick it? Yeah, I can. 2, 3. My cheeks in high color, overripe peaches. No shirt, no shoes, only my features. My boy behind me is taking pictures. 2, 3, 4. Lead the boys and girls onto the beaches. Come on, I'll tell you my secrets. I'm kind of like prettier Jesus. 2, 3, 4. Alright, that was awesome. Now let's do the chorus. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Forget all of the tears that you cry. It's over. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it's a new state of mind. You coming, my baby. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now it's your turn to take the next and final step. So if you are ready, it's time for you to show this song to somebody else, whether you're gonna teach somebody or you're gonna perform for someone. And don't forget to check out our playlist, Song Tutorials, where you can learn and add tons of songs to your repertoire. My name is David, and I will see you guys on the next video.